Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the inaugural three-finger salute blog spot. This is our first blog of many, and we're glad you joined us. My name is T-Sizzle, and this is my esteemed colleague,
J Money.
J Money. Money in the bank guarantee. That's this kid right here. Well, as you know, if you're here, you are a rabid U of H fan. You bleed Cougar red just like we do. Quick background before we jump into our topics. This blog, I myself am a U of H graduate, go Coogs. Rabid U of H fan, I've only missed one out of my entire era at U of H, so you can say I am a huge fan. And this is my esteemed colleague, Mr. J Money. Introduce yourself.
Been a huge U of H supporter since 2008, like T-Sizzle, missed one home game in that time span, which is more than most of our donors, which is pretty pathetic. Let's see here. U of H football is dear to my heart. It has caused many dark times, especially the UTEP loss 2009. Still haunts me to this day, and most notably the Southern Miss debacle, which I might have shed a tear or two.
Yes,
in front of my girlfriend at the time.
I think we all did.
But you know, T-Sizzle and I, we're Bayou Oaks notorious together. Let's just say that.
That we are. So that's a little bit about ourselves. Throughout these blogs, we'll tell you a little bit more about who we are. Not exactly who we are, but a little bit about us and why we decide to bleed Cougar red compared to some people. So we have a variety of topics to cover today. We'll try and keep it short but sweet. God knows our attention spans are less than that, what they used to be back in the day. So the very first thing is your University of Houston Cougars are part of the American Athletic Conference. The Big East is no mas. The kids over there decided to take their ball and go home. And by ball, I do mean basketball. We will not be playing any St. John's or anything like that, which could be viewed good or bad depending who you're talking to. But just, again, to recap the quick rundown, we have Cincinnati in the American. We have UConn. Us, Louisville for this year. Memphis, Rutgers for this year. Bye-byes. SMU, we have South Florida, Temple, Central Florida, we also have East Carolina joining us in 2014. We have Tulane joining us in 2014.
Bourbon.
Yes, you get a trip to Bourbon Street every other year. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to be for the Sugar Bowl, but at least it's still something to get us through the year. And then finally, Navy will join us in 2015. Your thoughts on joining the American Athletic Conference?
I think it's a good move. Personally, from Conference USA, people that on Coug fans, we read Coug fans, yes we do. People on Coug fans that go on there and say that compare the AAC to Conference USA. Would you rather still be in Conference USA and have to play North Texas and UTSA every year? Oh, and what's the new one? Old Dominion?
Yeah, and UNC Charlotte, those 49ers, those mighty 49ers.
There's just no comparison there. Also, the Mountain West Conference, I think it's a better fit for us.
I do too. I agree. It's you got to look at it on the long-term scale of exposure. We have not had any exposure, relatively speaking, since the Southwest Conference days, which has really hurt us in donations, alumni, apathy, especially apathy. That's what's killed us for the last 20 years. So now we will have that exposure, start regaining that national presence that we used to have back in the glory days, as everyone refers it to, of the Andre Wares and people like that. So I think, in my personal opinion, I think it's a great move for now. By no means do I want to stay in this hodgepodge of a conference for the term of, while I'm here and J Money is here. But for now, I think this is great. I think it's going to be a good move. It's competitive to an extent, to a degree. Definitely basketball. Our basketball has stepped it up this year in our scheduling.
Definitely.
So, but for football, it's remained unseen, and we're going to talk a little bit later about some of our conference opponents and how they fared or did not fare during the first week. So, before we jump into that, let's talk a little bit about the U of H offseason. What I want to talk about is the U of H offseason. I know for some people it was very long and grueling and very, very, very long, given our 5-7 record from last year, which we kind of linked to. There's plenty of games where we basically killed our own selves and could have gotten the W, but we didn't, Marshall. But, that's part of every offseason, that you get to analyze every single play from every single game. So there's a few things that J Money and I'd like to highlight that we thought were pretty significant for us. Most importantly, and I think this is a great move for U of H, not only recruiting but moving forward, is Robertson got the big old hi-ya and is down for the count. Robertson is no Moss. I know there's plenty of alumni out there who would not disagree with me when I said that I do not mind ever walking into the first floor bathrooms and seeing a catch tube of piss and poop right above my head.
Oh, Lord.
From the second floor. So you will never ever have to worry about that again, thank God. With the new stadium getting up to 40,000 and about double the amount of concessions and restrooms, and which means shorter lines for beer at the end of the third quarter because our Cougars sell beer. And it sucks for everybody else that doesn't. And then last but not least, the practice facility, which I've heard rave reviews about. I know J Money and I have been out there a couple times to check it out, by the way. Don't take your phone out there and start videoing. And we've all found out the hard way that there are certain coaches who did not like that. So, J Money, your thoughts on all three of those with the Robertson being torn down, the new stadium, and our amazing practice facility?
Robertson getting the dynamite was probably one of the better things. I mean, I love the Rob, let's be real.
Yes, Rob is very near and dear to our hearts.
A great time there in undergrad years.
Some of us were arrested there. Some of us were kicked out.
Many friends arrested. Many fights brewed.
Maybe a cup of male urine was thrown on Shasta back in the day. But, that's minor details back in the day. So we all have... I'm not saying he did, I'm not saying he didn't. I don't recall exactly. But I'm just saying we all have some great memories there. I know we could go on for days of memories in that place. But it was what it was, and it is what it is. And now we are moving forward because now we will have at least a 40,000 person stadium. So I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, but the practice field was state of the art. Like T-Sizzle said earlier, we went out there and had to look at it, and it's incredible. I think it's going to add another dimension to our team. You can just tell the players take practice a little bit more differently now. They got a nice facility to use. It's and like some of the coaches I mentioned, so many other programs would be dying to have something like that at their fingertips, and we have it at U of H now. It's just something that's great. The only thing I wish we could upgrade as far as a practice facility goes is probably like the fencing around it. It still is like a little dinky.
Well, I do believe people don't know this. Metro actually had to pay for that, given that the light rail came through and is cutting out a little bit of the parking in our practice facilities. The practice facilities, if I'm not mistaken, used to go north and south next to each other. Now they go north and south. They used to go east and west. So part of that came from Metro paying for the practice facility. Not to mention, they're also going to be installing a brand new fencing area, which is going to include some sound barriers, because as we know, the light rail is going to pass by and do the little ding ding, honk honk. We don't need that messing with our boys, so they do have plans to put in better fencing and probably one of those sound barriers like they have on 59 and the other roads. And maybe there might be a bubble or two to burst down the road. We don't know. Okay, I'm not saying it's
a big
happen.
bubble, like covers a field, maybe air conditioned,
big bubble. So
my only other complaint with the practice facility is that you can see the damn Popeye sign from the field. And I know all of y'all know when you see the Cougar Insider videos on YouTube that are such great practice report videos, they're top notch. I mean,
yes.
Okay, let's be real. They have upgraded the videos over the years.
Yes.
I mean, congrats, communications. You've actually done what you're supposed to do.
Doing an amazing job.
Yes, but when it pans over and you see our players practicing and there's a big Popeye sign in the background
and Taco Bell,
it makes us look like Third Ward Cougars, which we are.
Yeah. So I think overall it's going to help us with recruiting. The recruits like it currently. The players like it, which means everybody else needs to get on board and like it as well. I think it's only going to help us in the future. Not to mention the brand new stadium is going to have a field turf just like that. So we might want to practice on something that we're going to play on. That would only make sense.
And to all you alumni that are like, oh, we're not playing on grass. I like grass. No one cares what you think, all right? It's what the coaches want. It's what the athletic department wants. Guess what? We're a team of speed. You can run faster on turf.
Yeah, science. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, a little bit more in the offseason. We had a couple of losses and a couple of additions. Most notably, our boy Zeke Reiser, which most people know as a senior, played defense for us the past couple of years, did a great job. He has now moved on to Maryland. And then Mr. Charles Sims, which I know plenty of you know, who was our poster boy last year, moved on to West Virginia to our former U of H coordinator, Mr. Dana Holgerson, to be a part of their scheme. Both did graduate. They got their degrees. They played 4 hard years for us, or 3 if you want to be technical on Sims. They moved on. It is what it is. We wish them best of luck, but my thought is, if you don't want to be here, there's the door. See you later.
Absolutely agree.
I'd rather take a kid that's a 2-star who really wants to be here, who is pumped, because he's going to play with way more enthusiasm and pride than someone who's a 5-star who's like, man, I guess I'm kind of here, whatever. I don't need that.
One 5-star.
Yeah, no, we only have one 5-star, but I'm making the point of I would much rather have a kid here who wants to be here than someone who doesn't. You're not going to get. It's just like in work in the real world. If you don't want to be at your job, you're going to suck at it. You're not going to do what you're supposed to do. But if you have someone who wants to be there, they're going to perform well. So we had a couple of player additions over the offseason as well. Just a quick recap. Owen Daniels, the tight end for the Texans, his brother transferred down here, Hayden Daniels. He's a walk-on from Illinois. We also had a few more. We had a running back, Jalen McCain, wide receiver, Cameron Oliver, defensive back, Tyler White. We also had a couple more walk-ons with a defensive tackle, Mike Mustafa from Oklahoma State, which was a 3 or 4-star, I believe. Jeremy Johnson, which is a defensive back. He transitioned from quarterback from being his high school days from West Virginia. And then punter Dylan Seibert from Oklahoma. So we had a very nice little haul of kids. I'm sorry, I completely forgot the gem of the class, Mr. Junior College himself, Markeith Ambles, the boy, the man-child. He was a 5-star. He was a top 5 wide receiver, 5-star. Signed with Southern California a couple years ago. Didn't really take care of stuff in the classroom. Decided the life in the city is a little more important than football, and find out real hard and quick how bad that he doesn't need to do that, and ended up at JUCO and transferred our way. He just most recently ended up at U of H. We're going to hope that he's going to get it right and get it together and give us 2 top 10 wide receivers on either side of the ball.
He's expected to be back at the Rice game,
yes.
I believe, right?
Rice game's the first one to come back. Rice. So I think we had some great additions. I can't remember in recent history when you have this many players wanting to come to U of H and play for us in recent years. Every year we get 1 or 2, but we always lose 1 or 2. This year we lost 2 and gained, 5, 6 players. I think that's amazing. I think that's great. That just shows that U of H is no longer just a doormat and dormant in CUSA. We're actually getting out there. We can only thank, Kevin Sumlin, Case Keenum.
Much as I hate it.
As much as we hate them, we hated to see them go.
Well, not Keenum, obviously.
Not Keenum. But as much as we hated to see them go, they helped put us back on the map. And Kevin Cobb as well, and that whole crew in 06. So I really think that with the offseason and all these people getting over here, I think we have had some quality additions to our roster, regardless of the losses that we had. J Money, any final thoughts on the off-season topics that we just discussed?
One that was notably left out. I hate to see my boy Bram go.
Indeed, Bram Kohlhausen, the man QB1, is finally long away going Cali swag on us.
The BK Lounge 16. Follow him on Twitter.
You hate to see him go, but it's understandable when you get kicked down.
What just shocks me is that when Kingsbury was here, Kingsbury raved about this kid, and he was a solid number 3 guy whenever he first
2.
At least I think he got redshirted his first year.
He did get redshirted,
but I watched the kid play in scrimmages, and I was like, this kid's gonna be big time one day. And we went out to practice, this year and watched him play.
Mm-hmm. And
didn't, there was really no. I'm not saying I don't know. The coaches obviously know more than we do, but
yeah, it is what it is, and sometimes you have demotions and you have different coordinators who like guys different ways. And I guess somehow Meacham, our new offensive coordinator who came from Oklahoma State, didn't like his style of throwing or playing, and he got booted down. Now you have Pylan, O'Korn, the freshman, the phenom, Greg Ward, and then Kohlhausen. So, and after you've been here for this many years, it's kind of, you got to decide, outweigh what you want to do, hold the clipboard or try and make it out. He can still transfer and then come back in, but it's really...
He's not going to come back in after he transferred.
Yeah,
let's be real.
Best of luck to you. Best of luck to you, BK Lounge, and hopefully we'll see a few games and alumni tailgates. All right, so now we finally got out of the off season. The first thing that comes up of the year is First football game of the year versus the Southern Jaguars.
Their band was awesome, by the way.
Yes, I will give them plus 10 on their band. Their band was sick. It was wild. I thought I was back on Stomp the Yard or whatever that other movie was. But yes, they were loud. They filled up Reliant.
Drumline.
Great, Drumline, great halftime show. Kudos to you. But let's talk about why we were really there is the first UVH football game. As we know, it was played at Reliant, which we forgot to mention in our last little segment of where we're playing our football games this year. This game was at Reliant. We're playing 5 at Reliant. We're playing 1 at Dynamo. And we're playing 1 at Rice. So,
and I hate the fact we're playing Cincinnati, a really good opponent, at Rice. I would love to have them at Reliant. I think that would have been...
It would have been a wild game, but as we know, the whole turnaround thing, it takes 18 hours to get the field turf out and get the real grass in, yada, yada, yada. So, for 1 year, everybody's just got to hold themselves and get over it because we'll never, ever, let me say it one more time, ever have to worry about this ever again.
Unless we continue to play Rice there for the Bayou Bucket.
Yes.
Which is stupid, by the way.
It is pretty stupid. Unless we start doubling our amount of season ticket holders, we should reconsider. We may not even play them next year. I would not be surprised given what happened with the signing of the contract this year between the fighting of us and Rice about what field logos will be out there. I would not be surprised if we kind of said, you know what, we're good. We're good for a little while and we'll not have to play y'all. So, purely speculation. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But I do hope we'll play them. It's a great little series for us to have. And it really rallies around the city. So,
yeah, I agree.
Back to the topic at hand, the first football game. We played Southern. We beat the crap out of them. The final score was 62-13. We really turned it on in the second half. I had a great time. I know everyone around us had a great time. It pretty much cleared out in the second half. A few things we want to highlight on this game. Obviously, first thing I want to talk about is the QBs. Let me get your thoughts, J Money, on how the QB play was.
You know, I was honestly really surprised by Pylon. He kind of looked, at first, a little day and night compared to, a year ago. He kind of looked like a 2010 version of himself, but I think a lot of that has to go back on Meacham, personally. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You have a guy there that has confidence in him, and a guy that can coach him up a little bit. Last year I feel like he was stuck in a really, really bad situation. Mm-hmm. So while a lot of people are really hard on him, I think he did, leaps and bounds better than how he started the 2012 campaign.
Yes,
for sure.
I completely agree. He went 15 for 23, 148 yards and a touchdown. My biggest thing on these quarterbacks is going to be no interceptions. Do not turn the ball over. And we didn't do that. Our quarterbacks made it through the progressions, and we had John O'Corn step in, and from what Coach Levine said, he was going to step in on the fourth series regardless, and I like the way the kid played. He showed great poise for being a freshman. He got 3 touchdowns, so obviously he makes his reads and his check downs and does what he's supposed to do. And again, I think that just comes with the tutelage of learning under Mr. Coach Meacham.
Yeah, I think he's going to be real special for us down the road.
Definitely.
He looked really good as a freshman. But, not trying to take away from, anything from either quarterback, but we also played Southern.
Yes, agreed.
And
which is an FCS team. It is what it is. But it was good to get out there. Real game time situation. They're not hitting anybody else. They're throwing to their own guys and cutting upfield and making some great plays. Which leads us to our next thing we want to discuss is the running backs and wide receivers. I think the play was great. Ryan Jackson really surprised me. I did not...
speed.
The speed. The kid's got shifty. He had this one move where he just literally scooted to the right, and the Southern guy was about 5 yards behind him by the time he took his next step.
So
he's a shifty little guy, and that's what I like to see. But then we also can't hate on our boy Farrow. Farrow brought the rock. He had some pretty good plays in between the tackles, and he's the bruiser. You want to cut up field, you want to run between tackles, get it to Farrow and let him do his thing.
Well, like Levine said, he said that both of our running backs will be household names, so to speak, at the end of the season. And I like the little combination we got. It kind of reminds me of when we had Bell and Hayes.
Yes.
Which was by far,
one of our best running back tandems that we've had.
That was, just incredible with those two out there. Ryan Jackson reminds me a lot of Hayes. Maybe not the dynamic freak athlete that Hayes was as far as just
beast mode and just trucking over people in the UCLA game.
The fact that he's not on some NFL squad is beyond me.
Yeah,
but anyways, I think Ryan Jackson has that flash about him, and Farrow is he's gonna run over you.
Yeah, I mean the kid averaged 12 yards a carry. I mean, really, the kid's obviously a gamer. So, but what leads us to our next group I want to talk about is our receiver. This is my favorite portion of the game is receivers. I love seeing our receivers get outside, create separation, and grab those balls and really fight for them. I like the move that Greenberry moved to the inside.
Yeah, I agree.
Like we did with Patrick
move.
Was it Edwards that we did back in the day?
Justin Johnson
back in the day. Daniel Spencer, Maxwell. There was a few drops that I didn't like. There was plenty of catchable balls that I wasn't too happy with. But on the overall whole, I think with Daniel Spencer, Deontay Greenberry, and Maxwell as our three main guys, and then A-Rod and John Leday, I think all those guys, we're gonna be moving up and down the field. I don't think we're having a problem getting the ball.
No, I don't think so either. There are a couple of drops, and I'm not trying to hit on anybody, but Maxwell dropped one in the end zone.
Yes.
I don't know, later in the game, he had one kind of deep that probably wanted to throw.
Yeah.
I really didn't get a good
chest.
look at it.
Yeah.
Well, there's also another one. It could have been overthrown. Some people say he kind of gave up on the play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but that one in the end zone though was very just so deja vu of last year that it, but I think it'll get better.
Yeah.
And some people say that Coug fans, some of you guys that know football say that it's Pylan's throwing that doesn't make him catch it. Well, you know what? I don't care how he throws it. Hit you in the numbers.
Yeah.
In the end zone, you're catching the football.
Yeah. If it's touching your hands, hitting your numbers, you've got to catch that ball. You've got to make the play. But again, first game of the year, first time out there. I think overall, again, on the whole, our wide receiver play looked much better than we did last year on the first game compared to Texas State in that debacle.
I mean, the really only downfall you can really take away from this game are the penalties. And certainly 14 penalties for 126 yards is not going to help us win games down the road.
Definitely.
But it was the first game of the season. So I'd rather it happen against Southern than, let's say, Louisville or Cincinnati down the road, which is fine. That's.
But those are later on the season. Again,
first game corrected.
For the first game, I think the guys did great. We put up huge yards, 255 yards receiving on that end. So you can't ask too much more, especially for first game. And I know we didn't show all our plays. I know for a fact we're holding some in the toy box to empty it out when we get up to Temple tomorrow. So
we played a really basic. I mean, we called a really basic offense, except for that one little reverse pass behind the back,
which was sick with Spencer.
Deja vu, Keenum to carrier,
just
all the
flipping
time.
the ball back to our old
one of my
ways.
favorite plays that we do. And Spencer executed it.
Yeah, which kind of transitions into our next topic. Is one thing I want to highlight is our cornerback play. Obviously, we have our freshman All-American Trayvon Stewart, who's dynamic. I mean, just an absolute beast mode out in the field. He had an interception, even though they called it back and they didn't really count it, which I think was ridiculous.
I thought it was a fumble recovery.
It might have been. That's right. Because Sworn he had an interception. But I think our cornerback play, they're going to have to step up a little bit. The Southern receivers had 268 yards to an FCS team. That cannot happen against some of our other squads.
And in our cornerback's defense, there was one play we got clearly beat on. I think it was Zach McMillan got beat. I think it was in the first quarter of the game, whenever they got inside the 10.
Yeah.
We did get the fumble recovery, though, so they didn't score. But we did play. We played well. Our corners played, well off the ball. Mm-hmm. They weren't no pressing going on. There was really no need to.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people think, our defense needs to step it up, which they will. But we didn't show anything on defense as far as blitz packages, coverage packages. We played a real basic defensive game plan.
Yeah.
Again, which I like. We don't need to bring out anything against Southern. We should be able to play a base defense all day against a team like that and be successful.
Absolutely. And we did. They moved the ball. They only scored twice, which is a big step up from last year, keeping people out of the red zone, which we had a huge problem with last year. So I like that we played our base package from what we could see, and they didn't get the end zone, which is what I don't care if they move the ball up and down the field as long as you keep them out of our end zone.
Shout out to George Banfo, too. I thought he played a great game.
An amazing
linebacker
game
for us.
And Tommy Mark for getting the actual only interception. Too. Yeah. So I think the defense looked good for the first game, getting out there and be able to hit someone else besides their own guys. I think they did a great job. We got the first game jitters out of the way, and now it's time to get up to Temple and handle business.
And one other thing I want to mention, and I know I rant and rave about Trayvon Stewart all day, just being a great player. But if you watch him on the field, even if he doesn't make a play, he gets so excited, and I don't even know,
he's just a dynamic player that any play that happens, and especially if it's in the air, he's going to be going to the ball. He's a hawk on the ball. He's either going to be he led I think he was up there and leading the nation in tackles. That's why he's first team All-American, freshman All-American. So and he's a sophomore, a true sophomore.
Yeah, but one of the most dynamic players we have, and he's not a selfish person as far as if someone makes a great play, he's going to celebrate like he made the play too.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I love that enthusiasm. I think we need that, from all of our players on defense.
Yeah.
It's just awesome to watch, and the energy that he brings to the table, I think, reflects on other people as well.
So, J Money, what is your overall grade on the first game of the year?
A B or a B plus. The only things taking it away from an A, I think, would be penalty wise, which we know is obviously gonna it's gonna get better as the year goes on.
Yeah, and Tony Levine also talked about that's one thing they're going to address this week, and really hopefully they hash that out. Again, first game jitterness, first game nervousness. Now that's out of the way, I too would give it a solid B. I think it's a solid B. We step up on our defensive side. We eliminate the penalties, and then we eliminate the drop passes, and I have no reason to not give them an A for the rest of the games.
It's great to be 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike
this time last year, we were 0-1 against Texas State, and we were wondering where this program was headed. But now we have the 1-0. We're like, okay, we're riding the wave. We got a good start, and it's always important to get that first one on the year.
Yeah, I thought Richie Leone too.
Got to give shout out to Richie Leone. He was the American Athletic Conference Special Teams Player of the Week. I mean, the kid had boot. I mean, there was plenty of times where they got pressure, and he still kicked it off. He's leading the nation, 47 yards per punt average, which is great. And it's always good to know because special teams can kill you in the long run.
And even on PATs and just basic field goals, I thought he did a great job. He put it through the uprights every time, no hesitation. I thought that one player almost got blocked.
Yeah, and he still got the boot
off.
Down
there, we got the turnover. Ended up hitting one of the Southern players inside.
Yeah.
I think we got inside the 10 or the 15.
Yeah,
he brings a presence to the table as far as not many teams can say that their special teams captain is one of the poster boys.
Yeah, exactly. There is no question mark at the special teams. We were in good hands, and we got great people behind them as well.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, and now that we've wrapped up our first football, let's take a quick tour, the quick world around the entire athletic conference, considering it stretches from all the way up to the northeast with UConn and all the way down here to the dirty third with U of H.
It's had a great opening weekend.
Oh, the Horde. Oh, here we were, rebranding the conference. We're going to be competitive, yada, yada, yada. And right out the gate, we have a loss of UConn to Towson. Division 1AA Towson. Then you slide on over.
Beat down.
Oh, then you have South Florida losing to McNeese State. And not even close. Just a royal.
And I want to add 31 points in the second quarter by McNeese State.
31 points. Solid.
Okay.
Good job.
We thought last year that Texas State was bad. They were an FBS team. But still, 31 points in a quarter against an FCS opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the wheels have fallen off the bus of their little.
The bus.
I'm sure y'all have seen
the
their awesome commercial. I mean, I know I've been embarrassed of things in the past that U of H has done marketing wise, but that was by far one of the worst things I've ever seen in major college athletics.
Yes.
And
that's pretty embarrassing. Not as bad as the Oregon State loss to Eastern Washington, which is an FCS team. But nonetheless, still a terrible loss. Then you also had losses. SMU lost handedly to Texas Tech.
Who started a walk-on freshman quarterback, by the way, in their own backyard, which I know Texas Tech, Kingsbury, we all know what a great presence he has on his quarterbacks there. So I'm sure that surely helped, but still.
And then you had the Notre Dame beatdown of Temple, which was kind of expected, 28-6, which... it is what it is. It's Notre Dame, but come on, Temple, you couldn't even manage a single touchdown. That's not helping us on a rebranding image. But then you also had some wins. You had the U of H win. You also had the UCF win against Akron. You also had you had Rutgers losing in a shootout to Fresno, which has a Heisman hopeful quarterback with Derek Carr.
Carr, we love Carr in Houston.
Yes, Houston loves Carr. Then you had Louisville, the juggernaut of the AAC beat the crap out of Miami of Ohio.
And I just want to say how good Teddy Bridgewater lived up to the hype in that game. I don't care. Ohio, let's be real. You can say they're not a legitimate opponent, but they did win a bowl game last year, and they did finish inside the top 25 at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. So they didn't have a bad year, and Louisville made them look like a little cupcake.
That was a practice for Teddy Bridgewater. He just made it look too easy.
I think at one point he was like 16 of 16, 2 touchdowns, something.
Yeah, he looked good.
He looked really good.
He looked good. So right now we're not looking so hot with our out of conference, which hurts us overall, and it'll hurt us in scheduling later on. But it's a new conference, so it's not over yet. We had some other teams do well.
Well, we did have a win, Cincinnati over Purdue.
Yes,
over a Big Ten team,
which was a quality win. It was it was a blowout.
I know it's a bottom of the barrel Big Ten team, but still have a W in our belts over, let's say, a Power 5 team.
Now, given that, we'd like to do some future predictions for the rest of the year. I know my prediction, it's been, and I'm going to hold to it for the year. I'm saying 7-5. We make it to a bowl game. I'm pretty sure we're going to lose. We'll lose against Rutgers. I see it happening. Central Florida, Louisville, Cincinnati, and either a toss-up between SMU or BYU. That's just my prediction on the year. I really think 7-5 is a great turnaround from last year going 5-7. And then my pipe dream is to play in the Pinstripe Bowl against a Big 12 team at the Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. People are kind of riding the Rice train hard right now because of how well they showed against A&M. But let's be honest, A&M, it was the first game of the year for A&M. Someone has always struggled against Rice. And A&M had, 3 players out on defense?
6.
6 players out on defense. Wow. Okay. 3 that are, suspended?
Yep.
I'm sure Rice got up for that game, too. And I don't know this kid's name, that wide receiver they have.
That made the top 10 play.
That kid is a freak athlete,
Beast. Though. Beast mode. Straight beast mode. Now we're going to go to our favorite time of the whole vlog. We call it the bold predictions. We like to call this portion the J Money, take it to the bank guarantee. Take it away.
I'm going to say we play Temple this weekend. I'm going to say no less than a 2-touchdown win. That's my cash money pick of the week.
Okay.
I think the Vegas line is at 3.5 right now. I know a couple articles I've read from Phil Steele, AP, and someone say 30-17. Phil Steele says, Houston wins comfortably because we're better offensively and defensively. I agree with him in that aspect. My only worry is that with Levine, we have not won a road game. Yep. Their situation is a lot like ours over there, playing where the Eagles play in that big NFL stadium, and so it's not really going to be a college atmosphere, / home field advantage to say the least. Yeah. So, I like our odds there. As long as we come out strong and we're focused, I think we can take care of business. And I'm saying no less than 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree.
Their quarterback, I know a lot of people on Coug fans have been talking about it. Their quarterback struggled against Notre Dame. That is also Notre Dame. That's a tough first game. And they're running new offense, new coordinators, new staff, and all that. They're very, very similar to where we are this year. But that's my cash money lock of the week. Awesome. 2 touchdowns plus.
All right. And now my portion is the T-Sizzle, too hot to hold, get rid of it prediction for this year. I'm going to go ahead and say we walk into Louisville and beat them 4 touchdowns. That is the too hot to hold. Get rid of it. Don't believe it because it's not going to happen. But if I can make one thing happen, and you're going to call me a crazy guy, go with U of H beating Louisville handedly. We got all of our kinks worked out. Green berries, catching rocks.
We just lost all credibility right there on that pick.
I know. But hey, that's why I call it the too hot to hold. So get rid of it. So that's our bold predictions for this year and for U of H football. Well, that about wraps it up on our portion. Again, I am T-Sizzle.
This is J Money. Cha-ching!
And we would always like to remind you, always be on the giving end of the 3-finger salute, never on the receiving end. Ooh. Go Coogs.